As adults, we often tend to overcomplicate things. We convince ourselves that things are harder than they truly are. We tend to get stuck in a rut and do things over and over again, hoping for a different result. Well, my friend, it is time to shake things up like crazy and flip all those scripts on their heads. What if instead we allowed ourselves to stand on the shoulders of giants? What if those giants are in fact the kids in our lives? Whether they are our own children or whether they belong to someone else and are inside our social circles. Well, my friend, today we are talking about my top secret business asset that does not get talked about enough, and that is leveraging the kids in our lives as part of our overall content strategy. If we haven't met yet, my name is Young Pratt. I am the Chief Content Gold Miner and podcast host here at Amplify Your Awesome. Here at Amplify Your Awesome, we help content creators just like you to organize all that beautiful content, to systematize that content, and even automate parts of it. And of course, we talk about how to monetize all of your beautiful content, especially the content you've already created. Today, we're diving into one of my favorite topics, and it's all about empowering the kids in our lives to see the possibilities that exist in our world as content creators. As you are watching and you have a takeaway, I want you to pop the word gold down below this video and let me know what it is. Type the word gold and pop your nugget into the discussion so I can know what is most impactful for you. And of course, if you know someone in your life who has kids of their own, who is a business owner, who is a content creator, I would be so honored for you to sprinkle this video out to your community to invite more people to this conversation about empowering kids to become content creators while we are teaching them how to help us in our businesses so we can model by example. How does that sound? And before we dive into the topic today, if you would like a copy of today's show notes, a written playbook, if you will, of everything we cover in today's video, pop the word kids below this video. I'm happy to share that with you. And I will also share a resource to help you to organize and centralize all of your beautiful content so that it's always available at your fingertips whenever you go looking for it. Last week, I talked about the importance and the benefits of centralizing your awesome content. If you missed that video, I will pop a link below so you can take a look at that because it is a crucial conversation to have as business owners because so many of us are digital hoarders these days. We have our content in so many different places, and we're going to talk about why you would want to put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, as far as your content is concerned, so that you always have it at your fingertips. Deal? Okay, let's dive in to leveraging kids as part of our overall content strategy. So there are three main reasons why we would want to enlist the help of our kids in our businesses. And this is a really super simple way for all of us as content creators, as business owners, to step back from our business and bring in fresh eyes in the form of our kids. Because I can tell you from personal experience that sometimes when I'm creating something, a graphic design, a new blog post, whatever it is, Sometimes my kids will walk by my computer and they'll ask, "Hey, what's that?" They're curious about what I've created, and sometimes I'll tell them and they don't get it. So by talking to them and inviting them into the conversation, I'm allowing them to use their imagination, to use their creativity, to use their skill sets to help me create better content. It's such a beautiful thing. And in a few minutes, I'm going to share with you the story of how this idea all started. But I do want to start by saying the first reason you want to bring kids into your business is for, let's see, I have too many things on my screen right now, so give me one moment here. Okay, so we're going to pop that off the screen. Okay, the first thing we want to talk about when we talk about leveraging kids is a fact you likely already are quite aware of. Kids are digital natives. They've grown up in the digital age where computers and smartphones have been part of their lives since day one. Whenever you get a new cell phone and you need help setting it up, we joke often that we should just give it to our 3-year-olds because they'll be able to reprogram it and set it up in record time. And that, my friends, is definitely a reality. Kids have a knack for technology. They have a knack for making difficult things easy. And when we go to ask them how they do these things, they often don't know how they did it. They just know they did it. So, as digital natives, how cool would it be to invite them in to help you in your business? And today we're talking all about the organization of your content. And again, last week I shared a video all about the benefits for organizing and centralizing your content. And kids can definitely help you with this process. Last week I promised that I'd share a secret tool or a secret that I have in my business on how to get this done, and it is this. I invite my kids into my business. Now, when my kids were in elementary school, my oldest in particular, I hired her to create videos for my performing arts school. If you don't already know this about me, I ran a brick and mortar performing arts school for 17 years, and I actually had the business before I had kids. So when the kids came along, they automatically became part of the structure or the inner work of the business. And I would often turn to them and ask for their help because I saw they had certain skill sets that I didn't have, or I knew it was going to take me a long time. And because I was in the business of equipping kids with life skills, empowering kids to feel good about who they are, what they contribute, and how they can make their mark in the world, it was just a natural progression for me to invite my kids in to do that. Now, for my oldest, when I asked her to do more things, I looked at my business and I thought about the skill sets I needed to fill. I looked at, okay, what tasks need to get done? And I tried at first to just delegate those tasks to her. And she was having none of it because, number one, I wasn't being a good parent or being a good detective and looking for the things that she naturally gravitated towards. Once I started paying attention and put on that Nancy Drew cap and had my magnifying glass out looking for clues, it became much easier to find the things that she could help me with. Did it fill all the roles in my business at the time? Absolutely not. However, by really leaning into my kids' own skill sets, their passions, what they were already doing, what they already loved doing, that made it much easier for me to have a conversation with them and invite them into business. Now, around the same time, my youngest was 11, and I really wanted to bring her into my business because I was getting rid of a then full-time virtual assistant. I hadn't convinced myself yet that it was time to hire someone new. So I asked myself a question. I asked myself a question that I ask a lot, and they're all what if? What if I did this? And what if I did that? So the question was, what if I were to train my kids to do the tasks that my virtual assistant was doing for me and pay them instead. So I thought about it for a while and thought, ugh, I must be crazy to bring my kids into my business because as an adult, we often feel like we need to be buttoned up and to be very professional, and kids are having way too much fun. And as adults, we don't often allow ourselves to indulge in fun. So I thought that I was honestly a little bit crazy for even thinking this, because what would people think if they knew I had my kids do something for me in business? Would they look at me like I was taking advantage of my kids? Would they think it was crazy? I just had a lot of belief that people around me were going to judge me for that. So it took me a while to finally come around to the fact that, you know what? This is my business. I get to create it any way I want. I get to bring in anyone who I want into the business to help me do the things that we need to get done. So I finally let go of wondering what if other people were judging me, and finally decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And when I asked my oldest, she wasn't super interested. And again, I shared that I wasn't really good with her about looking at what she loved or looking at her love language. So when it came to approaching my youngest, who was 11 at the time, I kind of did a lot of observing and discovered that her love language is quality time. What she valued above everything else was spending one-on-one time with me. So when I approached her about coming into my business to do these things, I kind of framed it as, would it be cool with you if we were to spend a couple hours a week together, sitting side by side, and we can make things together? And when I approached it from this vantage point, from this perspective, it changed everything. From that moment on, she and I would sit literally shoulder to shoulder, usually with a blanket draped on our laps, with our two laptops open. And I began the process of showing her the things that I needed to have done in my business. One of the things I needed to have done in my business at the time was to create graphics for my podcast, for the website, for social media. And so I created some templates for her and kind of allowed her to use her own creative abilities to move forward. And at first, I was holding on super, super tight. Have you ever heard of that story about the open hand, where if you go to the beach and you scoop up a handful of sand, if you squeeze it really hard and try to hold on too tight, when you open your hand again, you're left with very few grains. Rather than going to the beach, scooping up sand, leaving your hand open and offering that sand to someone else. Now you have a mound of sand to offer. There's more to offer. So I really had to go in with the open hand idea and allow her to explore, allow her to do things in her own way, allow her to have the freedom to express herself through the tasks that I was giving to her. And you know what? What I got back in the end was so much better than I could have imagined. In my head, I had a vision of what I thought that I was going to get back. However, when I gave her the ability to use her skills, use her talents, explain things through her child eyes, I was completely blown away. Daphne went on to get hired by other business owners to help them create graphics, to manage blogs, to manage YouTube videos. And she was actually able to make enough money to pay for a summer camp for math. She had been accepted, been invited, was one of the few in the state to get accepted into this program, and she really wanted to pay for it on her own. So by using the skills that she and I learned, by her and I sitting side by side, spending time together, her love language She was able to say, hey, you know what? I paid for that camp. I earned the money. I provided a service to someone else. And to know that she had the confidence in her own skills and that she could carry that with her for the rest of her life. Ugh, as a parent, that definitely pulled at my heartstrings. So if you're wondering, what can my kids do? Are they capable of doing it? Just know that kids, your kids, or the kids in your lives, in your social circles, are more capable than most of us give them credit for. And that's a travesty. What if we flip the script and allow them to use their native digital skills, their keen eye, their perspective to help us create content, to help us especially organize that content? And again, if you are looking for a way to organize and centralize your content, your kids are great at helping you. One of the things I discovered in this process of observing my youngest was that she loved to create slideshow presentations inside of Google. It was a skill that she learned at school, and no joke, she used to spend time on the weekends creating all sorts of slideshow presentations for fun because she loved it. And that's definitely a skill set as business owners when we're going to make a presentation, when we want to share our messages. That's often one of the things that we are asked to do and to provide. And knowing she had this skill set, I put her in charge of creating a slide deck for our first co-hosted webinar. And again, what I got back in the end was far different, but so much better than I ever could have imagined. Okay, so let's move on to number 2, why you want to bring kids into your business, especially in this process of organizing our content. Kids are like ninjas. Literally. Kids are stealthy. They are speedy, and no one ever sees them coming. And that is a huge advantage for you. Now, you may have heard of the term digital assistant or virtual assistant, but this, bringing your kids into your business to help you with especially the content portion of it, to organize it, to systematize it, and to monetize it, your kids are what I like to call your secret weapon assistant, like really top secret. So few people talk about this in business. And I think that is such a tragedy because kids are so capable of doing so many amazing things. They just need to be invited to have the opportunity to share what they know and what their skill sets truly are. Kids are able to jump in. They're very fluid. They can jump into all different situations. And because they've not been oppressed by life, I'll just use that term. They've not been put into a box. They still have these free thinking abilities and the abilities to dream past what we as adults sometimes lock ourselves into. They can surpass that. They can jump right in and no one even knows they're there. Of course, if you invite your kids into your business, I want you to be like me and shout it from the rooftops because it is so good. The fact that these kids can come in and work their magic. And because they are so ninja-like, they're in and out and super fast and stealthy and so good at what they do. It would be a crime not to let them in to help us. Now, in particular, today I want to talk about having kids help us to organize our content because I truly am a believer that if we don't have a way to organize all of our content, if it remains scattered across so many social platforms in different storage places, we tend to forget what we've created and we aren't able to find things when we're looking for them. So by enlisting the help of our kids and using my simple spreadsheet that is a Google-based spreadsheet, sending them on a scavenger hunt to find all that beautiful content and to reward them in a way that makes sense for you and your family is such a huge gift. Kids are learning these tools in school, yet no one taps into these abilities. We kind of just take it for granted that they know how to do things like use Google proficiently. And with so many schools switching over to Google Classrooms, kids again are so adept because they are digital natives. They've learned from the beginning how to use these tools that many of us tend to struggle with. So why not, again, stand on the shoulders of giants? Allow our kids to help us with the things that we may struggle with, because there's no reason to rely on our own creativity when there are kids in our lives, because the way they view the world is very, very different. And that's such a gift to us as business owners. If you would like to get a copy of that spreadsheet, again, pop the word kids down below, and I will share not only the show notes, but I will share the spreadsheet so you can get started to centralize your content. Okay, again, I have too many things on the screen. Okay, again, here we go. If you want the show notes, if you want access to my spreadsheet, pop the word kids down below this video, and I'm happy to share with you. Okay, so let's dive into number 3. Kids can save us time and money. Amazing. As business owners, especially if you are a solopreneur, we're always cognizant of expenditures and spending too much time doing certain things. If you think about the example I shared with you earlier about handing your cell phone to a 3-year-old to program and set up for you, it's kind of the same. What may take us 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours will probably take your kids way less than that. What if it took them 25% less? And you were to compensate them in a way that makes sense, whether that's spending time with you or actually paying them so they learn the value of what it means to serve others and get paid for their service. There couldn't be a better gift to give to your kids. So not only can they save you time in how long the time it takes you to get something done, and they can do it in less time, they can actually save you money, because if they can do something in less time and they're able to do this independently of you, and you don't have to search outside of yourself or outside of your business or overseas to find somebody right now, and you can invite your kids into your business. Ugh, if more business owners were to do just this thing. I know one of the questions I get asked so much is, how do I find a virtual assistant? For a long time, I had a full-time virtual assistant based in the Philippines. And so I got asked over and over and over again about, how did I find them? How did I post the job? What did you have them do? What do they do every day? How do they report their time? So many questions I got asked about a virtual assistant. What if, instead of looking outside of our business in the beginning, we could enlist the help of people who are inside our families? This, my friend, is the gift you can give by empowering the next generation of content creators. I'm going to wrap up by saying kids are so powerful. They're so underutilized. They're often neglected or pushed aside because we as adults think, oh, they're just kids. But what if we literally flip the script and say, you know what? Kids are powerful. Kids are creators. And I'm going to be part of raising this next generation of content creators. Can you imagine a world in which so many creators are being brought into the world every single day? And it starts with you. Next week, I'm going to talk more about leveraging kids as part of your overall content strategy by helping to, by enlisting their help, rather, I should say, in systematizing the content you have and doing things like automating your awesome content so it doesn't get buried deep in the recesses of your digital archives and forgotten about. Until next time, my friend, I invite you today to go out there and amplify more of what makes you so awesome. I'm Yang Pratt for Amplify Your Awesome, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.